Hi everyone, Mr. McIntyre here. This is the first set of notes for Integrated Math 1-2 Honors. And basically before we get started, just as a quick introduction, last year I started doing video notes because we kind of had to because we were doing distance learning. And I decided that it's nice for students to be able to re-watch lectures or notes. So I'm going to try and keep doing it this year. As long as I have time, I'm going to keep making these videos and you guys will be able to check back here and see the notes for each day. So this is our first day of notes. I started us off with a nice easy one, order of operations, something you guys learned a couple years ago probably, and this is just a review for you. So let's take a look. Here's an example, worked out twice. One of them is right, one of them is wrong. Let's figure out which one is right and talk about why. So the question is 6 plus 9 divided by 3. So what we have is two operations. One is addition and one is dividing. Now if you look at the two questions, let's start by kind of identifying what was done differently. In the first one, the student did the 6 plus 9 first and got 15. But in the second one, the student did the 9 divided by 3 first and got 3. Now the correct way to do this question is number 2. The mistake, the common mistake, is people think, I'm just going to go from left to right. I'm just going to start with the first number I see, the 6, and I'm going to start doing whatever I see. And that's not the way math is done. Math has what's called order of operations, and in this case, the dividing part should have gone first. So in number 1, that person did 6 plus 9 is 15, and then 15 divided by 3 is 5. Well, that is actually not the way to do it. That's the wrong answer. The right way is to do 9 divided by 3 and get 3, and then take that 3 and do 6 plus 3 and get 9. So this is the right answer here, 9. So example number 2 was right because of what we call order of operations. Now the word operation in a math class is whenever you do something to a number. It's not the number itself. Like the number 10 is not an operation. That's just a number. But if I add something to 10, or if I divide by, or if I multiply, or if I take the square root of, anytime I do something to a number, that's called an operation. Now, if you're doing more than one operation in a problem, which we do a lot, there's an order we're supposed to do them, and that's where that name comes from. It's the order that you're supposed to do different operations. So here's the order. Number 1, parentheses always come first. That's what parentheses are for in a math problem. They're there to say, hey, look at this first, do this part of the problem first. So for a quick example, if we were doing 2 plus parentheses, 5 minus 1, you would do the 5 minus 1 first because it's inside the parentheses. Nice, simple, easy concept. Okay, after parentheses comes exponents. Exponents always come second. So if I asked you guys to do 12 divided by 2 squared, the 2 squared has to come first. And this is a little less, like when you see the parentheses, most people immediately know to do that first. But this is actually kind of a common mistake. Same as the example I showed you before. People go from left to right. So some people, I'll show you the wrong way to do it first. Some people might take this and go, 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 squared means 6 times 6, and they'll get 36 for the answer. Now again, remember, that's the wrong way to do it because we were supposed to do the exponent first. So the correct way to do it is to leave the 12 and say 2 squared, that means 2 times 2 is 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So the correct answer to this one is not 36, it's 3. Make sure you're doing exponents before you do the dividing. Okay, now the next step in order of operations is multiplying and dividing. Now those two come together. So I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm gonna say, a couple years ago, when you guys first learned order of operations, your teacher probably taught you about PEMDAS, P-E-M-D-A-S, and they said that's a good little memory trick for remembering order of operations. Well, what we said is P is for parentheses, parentheses come first. E is for exponents, exponents come second. The M and the D are multiplication and division, but you have to remember that's one step all by itself. It does not mean multiply first and divide second. So what it actually means is you're going to do the multiplying and dividing at the same time, and if there's more than one of them, you do go left to right this time. So here's an example of that. If I ask you to do 12 divided by 6 times 3, this is one of the cases where you do just go from left to right. You do the 12 divided by 6 first, and then whatever you get, you multiply that by 3. So the correct way to do this question would be 12 divided by 6 is 2. Then take that 2 times 3 equals 6. So the correct answer here to this question is 6. Now, if you thought about PEMDAS, if you learned it and maybe forgot and just remembered the letters and said, okay, well, M comes before D, so multiplying comes before dividing, you would get the answer wrong. If you try to multiply first, if you leave the 12 and you say, I'm going to do 6 times 3 is 18, all of a sudden you have 12 divided by 18. The answer is definitely not 6. You're getting not even a whole number. You're getting a fraction or a decimal or something. And again, it's definitely wrong. So if you have operations in a question and you do them in the wrong order, you get the wrong answer. And that's why order of operations is so important. The last one is addition and subtraction. And in PEMDAS, same as multiplying and dividing. The two go together. So don't think addition first, subtraction second. Addition and subtraction together, if there's more than one, left to right. So same example we just looked at, or similar example. If I ask you to do 7 minus 4 plus 2, the right way to do it is say I have subtraction and addition. I'm just going to go from left to right. 7 minus 4 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. So the right answer is 5. And again, one more time, if you maybe forgot your PEMDAS and thought you were supposed to add first, then you leave the 7 and you go 4 plus 2 is 6. Then you have 7 minus 6. What you get for the answer is 1, which is the wrong answer. Now, a good thing to notice here, what this actually is, this is what you use parentheses for. If I was giving you a question and I wanted you to do the 4 plus 2 first, I would have put it in parentheses like that. And if I did that, then all of a sudden, that's the right answer, 1. So unless you see parentheses, which always come first, always remember multiplying and dividing is one step, adding and subtracting is one step, and if you have to do each one of them more than once in a question, that's when you do go from left to right. So let's wrap it up today with one example of a lot of different operations mixed up together. So we have 10 minus 3 plus 7 over 2 times 8 minus 7 in parentheses. So the very first thing I notice is the parentheses. I say, okay, I have an 8 minus 7. So let's do that first. Let's leave everything else. Now, 8 minus 7 is 1. Now, parentheses are gone. I don't see any exponents, but what I do see is that fraction. Now, let's kind of do that off to the side. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because a fraction actually means divide. So if you see something over 2 like this, it actually means divide by 2. But since you have the 3 plus 7 together on the top, it kind of acts like a hidden parentheses. Because if I'm doing 3 plus 7 divided by 2, it would actually look like this. It's saying add the 3 plus 7 first and then divide by 2. That's what that 3 plus 7 over 2 is. So when you see a fraction like this, you can, even though you don't see it, you can kind of think of it as each part being in parentheses, which means you are supposed to do that next. That comes before any of the dividing or anything like that. So I would do that next. I would do 3 plus 7 is 10. And now I'm on to my next step, which is multiplying and dividing. The subtracting will come last. You know, that I have that 10 minus everything else. That minus will come last. But that 10 over 2 means 10 divided by 2. and then it's times 1. So I'm going to do that all in one step. Let's leave this 10 minus 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 times 1 is still 5. So final answer to the question, 10 minus 5 is 5. The last thing you do is the subtraction part and you're done. So that was a quick review for you guys on order of operations. Hopefully you remembered most of it. Maybe you forgot one or two little things and it was a nice reminder for you. But this is something you always want to remember, because no matter what you're doing, no matter how far you go in math, you might be taking AP Calculus 3 years from now. You still need to know order of operations because it affects every single problem that you do.